Hello guys, in this video we're going to be discussing some durability mathematics in the Necrons Codex. We're going to go through some of the units, some of our more durable units. We're going to test them against certain weapon profiles and work out which units are the most durable points for points. Now before we continue on this video, I just want to talk about some future plans for the channel because I've not really posted in a long while really. I'm going to be sort of reverting back to the old school ways of doing community polls, and I'm probably going to be doing refresher, not necessarily full reviews, but refresher reviews on the units, especially with the new Prior Nexus. Well, it's not new now, but Prior Nexus is newish, so we're going to kind of recap on the units in question in the Necrons Codex and yeah, give a little bit of a refresh to our Necrons knowledge as a whole community. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to be putting it in the polls on the community tab for what units you want me to do next and so on. So keep your eye out on the community tabs for those polls. Right, let's get into this experiment then. It's math hammer, in fact, not mathematics, math hammer for Necrons 40k. So let's first talk about the units that we're going to be comparing. There's going to be 4 comparisons today. The first one is a Catan shard. Now, I've gone with the Deceiver. Now, the reason I've gone with the Deceiver is because I'm trying to find the most durable units, and out of all the Catan, the Deceiver has stealth, which is a slight difference to the other Catan, which don't have stealth. Of course, the Deceiver has everything else, and we'll go through that in a moment. We've gone through the 6 Canoptek Wraiths with a Technomancer. That's the second unit we're going to be comparing. The third is 20 Necron Warriors with Orikan the Diviner, that invulnerable save, and the fourth one is 10 Lychguard with a Necron Overlord. Now of course the points are going to be different for each one, so nearer towards the end of the video I'm going to be converting it points per 100 points, so how many shots it takes to kill and so on per 100 points, so we can know the true definitive answer of which unit is the most durable against certain weapons. Now what are those weapons? What weapons shall we check out in this investigation, shall we say? So let's have a look then. What have I got? We've got some sort of common weapons here because it's sort of easy to do, easy for everybody to follow. We've got a Space Marine bolt gun. So all of these are ranged, by the way. So Space Marine bolt gun, which is strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. We're going with a heavy bolter, which is strength 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage. A grav cannon, strength 6, minus 1 AP and 3 damage. And we've got an overcharged plasma incinerators, or overcharged plasma will do. Strength 8 minus 3 AP, 2 damage. We've got melters, strength 9 minus 4 AP, D6 damage. Now I'm going to be doing D6 plus 2 as if we're in melter range. And then las cannons, which are strength 12, minus 4 AP, minus 3 AP, minus 4 or minus 3? I think they're minus 3. And it's going to be D6 plus 1 damage. Like I said, with the melter, we're going to do the plus 2 for the melter. Anything that's got heavy, I'm going to add the heavy on. So they're going to have a plus 1 to their ballistic skill. And I think that's everything. We're going to sort of do everything to the max here. Let's start with that Deceiver then. So the Deceiver, Catan shard of the Deceiver, 265 points. I'm going to quickly go through what the durability stats are. So we've got a toughness of 11, a 4 plus save, a 4 plus invulnerable save, and 12 wounds. With stealth, so it's a minus 1 to hit him, and a feel no pain of a 5 plus, and of course halves all damage. That will round up, and don't forget with things like melter, you add that on afterwards, so after the halving, so you halve the d6, then you add the 2, so there'll be at least 3 damage coming in from a melter. Right, so now that we know what the Deceiver's stats and durability abilities are, let's break into some of these maths then. Right, we've got the table out, Katana on the top row. Bolt guns, you're looking at 432 bolt gun shots to take down a Deceiver. That's a lot of shots. Of course, stealth is going to play a massive factor. You're not halving any damage though, but there's no real strength to it. AP doesn't matter, of course, because of the in-one save. Heavy bolter shots, you're looking at 324. It's still going to be hitting on 4s. Even with heavy, all the stats are pretty identical, but the reason why it's slightly better than the bolt gun shot is simply because of it's got sustain hits 1. So 324 there. Grav Cannon, 108. 108. The reason for that, you're now wounded on 5s, not 6s, but also the damage gets rounded up to damage 2. So half of 3 damage goes down to only 2 and not 1.5, because you can't get 1.5. Overcharged plasma shots, you're looking at 216 shots there. At damage 2, not really doing anything, because again, you're halving damage. Melter shots at melter range, you're looking at 54, which is pretty impressive. Again, you're going to be adding the 2 after you've halved the damage, so it's going to be a minimum of 3. Potentially could be 5 if you're halving the d6 to a 3 and then adding the 2 on. And then las cannon shots, you're looking at 36, because with that, you're actually wounding on 3s, not 4s. So you get a few extra dice through in the wound roll. So that's the Catan. Next, we're going to move into Technomancer with the 6 Canoptek Wraiths. Now, the unit here obviously has a leader in it, so it's slightly different to the way we're doing the Catan. We will be doing all 6 Wraiths and the Technomancer at the end as well, so we're going to add him on. So the unit's got toughness 6, unless it's the Technomancer on its own, which is toughness 4, whatever. 3 plus armor, 4 plus invuln save, 4 wounds apiece, and yeah, the Technomancer's got a 4 plus armor save, in fact, so he's slightly worse. The unit's got a 5 plus fear no pain save as long as he is leading a unit. Again, if he's on his own, he will be losing that fear no pain save. So once he is on his own, he is quite easy to shift, but you've got to get through those 6 raids first. It's a little bit more durable in a sense without doing the numbers, because the Canoptek Wraiths are quite swingy with the fear no pain save. 1/3 of the dice are going to be ignored. That's with the damage, sorry. 1/3 of the damage is going to be ignored. So sometimes you might roll low on the damage. If it's a d6 plus 1 with a las cannon, you might roll just a 1 and it only becomes a 2, and then you've got 1/3 of a chance of actually ignoring one of them. But you might roll a 6. Then that becomes a 7, and even if you do ignore 2 of those damage rolls, a Wraith will still die. So it is very swingy with Wraiths. If you do get lucky with the damage, it's going to take an extra wound, or even more, to take down a Wraith. So here we go then, let's get into the Wraiths, Canoptek Wraiths, Math Hammer. We've got bolt guns, we're looking at 486 for the Wraiths, and then 24 more for the Technomancer. 130 heavy bolter shots, and then 6 more for the Technomancer there. I think the damage 2 definitely comes in clutch, although you are still wounding on 5s. For the Grav Cannons, 72, and then 5 for the Technomancer. You are now wounding on 4s, not 5s, because it's strength 6, and damage 3. I mean, it still requires 2 wounds to go through, because Wraiths are 4 wounds, and then of course the actual feel no pain saves start to get swingy at this point. Overcharged plasma shots, we're looking at 81 for the Canoptek Wraiths and 4 for the Technomancer. You are of course wounded on 3s. Melter gun, 42 on the Wraiths and only 2 for the Technomancer there. That's where the d6 plus 2 does really start to swing. But all they need to do is really deal 6 damage, and even on average, if the Canoptek Wraiths feel no pain save ignores 2 of them, it's still going to kill a Wraith. And to get 6 damage with Melter plus 2, you only need a 4 plus roll. And then finally, we've got the las cannons, 36 on the Wraiths and 2 on the Technomancer. You're wounded on 2s there because of the strength 12, and again the d6 plus 1 is swingy, but we've gone with 36. It really does depend on them feel no pain saves. We're going to move into the next unit, the 3rd unit, which is 20 Necron Warriors and Orikan the Diviner. Now, the Warriors have only got a 4 plus armor save, or toughness 4, 4 plus armor save, 1 wound apiece, but they'll also have a 4 plus invulnerable save because of Orikan the Diviner, who also has that same invuln save, even if the Warriors are dead. So let's break into these statistics then. 120 plus 24 for the bolt guns, 72 plus 8. When you've got the heavy bolters, you're now wounded on 3s with that because you're strength 5. The damage at this point doesn't really matter. Damage 1 is enough, of course. Grav Cannon, 90, and then 6 more for Orikan the Diviner, which is actually worse than the heavy bolter shots, but the heavy bolter shots, of course, have sustained hits 1. So you're kind of getting more for your buck there with heavy bolters. The overcharged plasma shots, again, the damage doesn't matter. However, you are strength 8 and you're wounded on 2s, so it is 72 plus 8. Melter shots, it's 72 plus 3. You're still wounded on 2s. The AP doesn't really matter. The D6 damage doesn't really matter, so it's exactly the same as the plasma, except when you're going up against the Cryptcephalon on his own, or in the Diviner, you only need 3 melter shots to go through, really. And then finally, las cannons, again, it's 72. That's the max you're going to have, and 4 because it's d6 plus 1, not d6 plus 2 with Melter. So that's the third unit. Let's get on to the fourth unit, which is 10 Lychguard and a Necron Overlord. I don't usually take this kind of combination so much nowadays, but let's get into it. So toughness 5, 3 plus armor, 4 plus invulnerable saves because we've got the dispersion shields. I probably should have said that at the beginning really. No one really takes the war signs at the moment anyway. And with Guardian Protocols, while there's an Overlord within the unit, it's a -1 to the wound roll if our toughness is worse than the opponent's strength when they're attacking our unit. So that's a huge factor for the bigger weapons. Now, of course, there is a Resurrection Orb in this unit. We're not going to mention this at this point because it's kind of hard to work out when you're going to pop the Res Orb. Very similarly with the Technomancer earlier on, with the Wraiths, with the Technomancer ability to heal D3. We don't know when that's going to happen, so we've not included that in this Math Hammer. Right, bolt gun shots, 270 for the Lychguard, because you're wounded on 5s, and 162 just for the Overlord on his own, which is pretty impressive. What we need to remember is the Overlord has got a 2+ armor save, and when there's no AP, you stick with that 2+ armor save. So 162 bolt gun shots that wound on 5s, yeah, that's quite a lot. When it goes to heavy bolters, of course, you're now wounded on 4s, it's slightly different. Only need 48 to kill the Lychguard and 22 to kill the Overlord there. When it comes to Grav Cannon, 60 will do it for the Lychguard. There is a -1 to wound now because the strength is better than the toughness of 5. And the damage 3, well, it's going to remove models anyway. And only 14 for the Overlord. If 2 go through, of course that will just kill the Overlord outright. Overcharged Plasma, we're looking at 60 again. I think 60 is sort of the max here now. 60 removes the Lychguard and 14 again to remove the Overlord. Melter shots, 60 again to remove the Lychguard. Only 5 to remove the Overlord this time. You've got the 4+ invulnerable save. You're wounded on 3s. And you're within Melter range. So you're going to need a couple of wounds to go through and pass the invuln save. So 5 will do it. And as for las cannons, 45 las cannon shots will break the Lychguard. And then 5 more to break the Overlord. Let's put a bit of colour onto the table so we can see the best and worst performers on each of the weapons. So with the bolt guns, the best performers are the Technomancer and the 6 Canoptek Wraiths. 486 shots with 24 additional shots for the Technomancer. The worst performer there is Orikan the Diviner and 20 Warriors. Now, of course, this is not points for points at this point, so we will be doing that in a moment. Heavy bolters, the Katana are the best option there, the Deceiver is the best option, and the Overlord with the Lychguard is the worst option. Grav Cannons, again, it's the same story. Katana, best option. Overlord and Lychguard, worst option. And again, the same with the overcharged Plasma. When it comes to the Melter, though, it's the 20 Warriors that are the best option there. And the Technomancer and the Wraiths are actually the worst option. And then finally, with the las cannons, the Warriors again are the best option. And the Katana is actually the worst option. Now, what I'm going to do is take away all these figures. I'm going to add the points to cost on the left-hand side. So you can see there, I put them in red. 265 for the Deceiver. 335 for the Technomancer and Wraiths. 280 for Orikan and the Warriors, and 255 for the Overlord and the Lychguard. Now what I'm going to now show you is the point, or how many shots it takes to kill the unit per 100 points. So you simply divide by the amount of shots it took with their full point, and then times it by 100. So with the bolt guns, it's actually changed. The Technomancer and the Wraiths were actually the best, but when you input the points values, it's actually the Overlord and the Lychguard. They've got 169 shots worth per 100 points, which takes the crown away from the Technomancer and Wraiths. Not by a lot though, because they had 152, but they're not even in second place, because as you can see there at the top, the Katana 163. Heavy bolter, it was the Katana as the best and the Lychguard as the worst. That still is the case. So you can see the figures there, 122 per 100 points for the Katana and 27 shots per 100 points for the Overlord and Lychguard. Grav Cannon, it was meant to be the same, but it has changed. The Lychguard were the worst, but it now actually is the Technomancer and Wraiths. So you're not getting as much value as you actually think with your Wraiths there. 23 shots per 100 points when you're using Grav Cannons on the Technomancer and Wraiths. So they are actually the worst performers, points for points. The overcharged Plasma, the Katana was the best with the Lychguard, and that again, that has changed to the Wraiths. The Wraiths are actually the worst performing points for points because they're only 25 shots per 100. Melter, we expect them to be the worst and Warriors to be the best, and that is still the case. 13 shots per 100 for the Technomancer and Wraiths, and 27 per 100 with the Warriors. And finally, we're expecting the Deceiver to be the worst and the Warriors to be the best here. And nope, it is actually the Wraiths that are the worst, with the las cannons taking it away from the Catan. Now, looking at it overall, I mean, does this mean that the Technomancer and the Wraiths are actually not as good as we think they are? Because whenever I play them, they're outstanding. Does it mean we're underestimating the Catan Shard of the Deceiver? Potentially it is the case. Potentially it is. I mean, Orikan and the Warriors, we kind of know they're going to be good against Melter and las cannons, but they're not going to get shot by those kind of weapons. So those kind of maths don't really give me enough information, really. It's the small arms fire that are going to go after them, and as you've seen there with the bolt guns, the Warriors are the worst at facing bolt gun fire, and not far off it, in fact, with heavy bolters. So we kind of knew that already, but what we need to factor in is other variables. There isn't just the variable of durability. I know this video is purely about durability, but you've got to factor in things such as objective control. I mean, the Deceiver might be really tanky, but does it have as much OC as 6 Canoptek Wraiths and a Technomancer? Not likely to be, no. You've got to consider the damage output. Are they a threat in both phases? I mean, yes, the Lychguard are really good at bunkering down on an objective. Maybe they got a bit of OC, but what about in the shooting phase? Are they a threat at range? No. Whereas the Catan, yes. The Warriors, yes. Are all these units a threat in melee? Again, no. The Lychguard are, the Warriors aren't. Whereas the Wraiths are, the Catan can do things in both phases, can't it? You've got to think about the abilities or war gear of the leaders that can be attached to some of these units. We mentioned earlier the Technomancer could be healing D3 on a turn in the movement phase. Or you've got the Resurrection Orb on the Overlord with the Lychguard that you could potentially pop at the end of a phase to get D6 wounds back. That could potentially be 3 Lychguard coming back there. You've got the potential of adding additional characters to units, because Necrons can add 2 characters. Maybe you want to give Orikan and the Warriors an Overlord, again with the Resurrection Orb. Or maybe you want to add, in fact, some Cryptothralls could even be added. I know they're not leaders, but you can add some Cryptothralls to that unit. What about unit synergy? What about Canoptek Reanimators or Canoptek Spiders with Feel No Pain saves? What about Catacomb Command Barges with their Resurrection Orbs? Or even just basic screens, Canoptek Scout Swarms that are screening off from melee attacks. You've got to factor that into it. You've then got to factor enhancements. You've got enhancements such as the Netherrealm Casket from the Awakened Dynasty for the stealth. Effectively, it's stealth. It's a -1 to hit the unit. If you've got a Technomancer with that ability on your Canoptek Wraiths, they're a -1 to be hit. Or with those Warriors, not with Orikan, maybe it's an Overlord in there, but they could be a -1 to hit. And finally, what about stratagems? There's stratagems in there. What about the suboptimal facade in the Canoptek Court, which allows them to get, or Canoptek units to reanimate if they've been charged? You've got to factor all these different variables in, which we can't do everything when we're doing Mathhammer. We can only do so much, but from what I've seen, even though I love my Canoptek Wraiths, the math shows that they're not actually the most durable out of these 4 anyway. Of course, their Feel No Pain is ultra swingy. It's ultra swingy. If you're firing all the las cannon shots into a Catan, then everything goes on. There's no spillover because it's just one model. Whereas if you've got 6 Canoptek Wraiths and you've got 10 shots of las cannons coming from somewhere, there is no spillover of damage, so you can get real janky with your dice, with your Feel No Pain saves, and start rolling them. And even if you've got 1 wound remaining on 1 Canoptek Wraith, it's going to eat another dice. So that's probably where averages and Mathhammer doesn't quite show the full story with Canoptek Wraiths, because I know when I play Wraiths, they're probably my best durable unit. But if you want Mathhammer, there it is. And if you want more of this stuff, just let me know down in the comments down below. But guys, if you've not yet subscribed, please do so down below. Don't forget the community polls we're going to do for the refresh reviews. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.